Guys, Delu Laguna, YouTube's N'Golo Kante. One of you guys asked me kindly to speak about the decline of Dutch football, and it is one that really upsets me. You know, I'm very fond of the Brazilians. I've told you guys how, of course, I weren't about, but I've I've read and researched and watched a lot of videos, and I hail up the forefathers of total football and them things, the Rinus Michels, the Johan Cruyffs, the Dutch sides of the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, even down to the late 2000s, well, not late 2000s, but down to the 2000s, 2010, really and truly. Yeah, we know they've missed out on the last two major tournaments. Someone get in the comments, and I hope I'm right on that. I know they're missing out. I'm talking in regards to the next World Cup. They're not going 2018, and I'm so sure they weren't at the last Euros, but forgive me if I've made an honest mistake, man. There's so many ways to pin the blame, man. I'd say I don't think I've always, oh, forgive me guys, the notification came up, but I've always said I don't think for the ability, Dutch, they'll always produce technically, well, not really now, but what they do, let me not lie, technically sound players, technically gifted players, players that are comfy in possession, players that understand football. But one thing I have always said, I don't feel they're tactical enough. They're not cerebral enough in the sense that, you know, Jurgen Low, they like to play their own way in Germany. But you could see them, if they're going against a Brazil or Spain, they'll alter their tactics to go a certain sort of way. Spanish, to a degree, they don't really change their tactics, but you might see some alteration. All the other sides, they will do that. I'm not saying they don't change their tactics, of course, but I just don't feel they're cerebral enough in that approach. It's all almost on the basis that we're Dutch, we like to play football a certain sort of way, so we're going to do that. I'd say there's not really a winning mentality on a general basis in Dutch football, purely on the basis, if you look at Overmars, he said we produce players that are very good, where normally our teams control, like youth sides, control 80% of possession, but we lose 1-0 versus in Portugal where winning comes first. So maybe they need to up the winning stuff. I'd also say there's not really any been succession planning. I mean, if you got to a final, World Cup final in 2010, you'd think, yes, this is a platform we build here. We didn't get here in 2010. I mean, we didn't win in 2010, but 2014, we want to be there. Let's get a pipeline. You didn't really see that. I'm not sure where they finished the 2014 World Cup, but they didn't win it, of course, and they didn't do what they did last time. I mean, I think Depay was there. He done his thing there. He hasn't gone his way to plan, and Van Persie scored that banger. But other than that, what did they do? There's not really any succession planning from that 2010 World Cup. And you're now looking at 8 years later. What is there to show? They've gone worse. That should have been succession planning to get the crop of players and things. They've also paid for troublesome management. It started with Louis van Gaal. He was failing. He lost his job. Daley Blind. I'm sure there's been a couple other managers here and there. There's been about 3 or 4 managers. Oh, why did you drop? About three or four Dutch managers. So that helped them not to qualify for the World Cup in regards to this. And in regards to just having poor players selection. This is just not trying to stay up there, is it? Yeah, they just had poor selection of players, in my opinion. It's the poorest collective squad I've seen as a Dutch side, and it is quite upsetting. They had Robin, Van Persie, once a time, Basten, Hullet, Cruyff, all of these rich players, and now to see the likes of what they're going with now is silly, man. It's silly. So I've said the tacticalness, the succession planning. What else can we say? I could also say the poaching of their players. When you look at guys like Delight, and I hope I said his name right, Ajax, he's 17, 18. How many games has he played? If he got poached, I'm not saying he wouldn't get played if he was at Barca or Arsenal, one of these clubs. But you'd also think he's one of the many. All of these Dutch young players, it's a broken model. They can't stop it, and they are trying to, but they can't stop it. Their players are getting poached. Arsenal are poaching players. United, City, all of us have Dutch players, and they're very good. Like, United have some guy called Chong. He's been very unlucky with injuries, but he's very good. But even then, he's just one of many with Gomez and all these guys. So if he doesn't make it for Manchester United, it's not Manchester United, for example, that care, and it's not their prerogative to ensure that he goes on to achieve success for Holland. Of course, if he's achieved success for United and they want him to be a first-team player, international recognition comes, but he's just one of many. It's just a melting pot essentially at all of these clubs. So if they could somehow get some of these players to remain calm, remain patient, you get to see what they're saying. If you could even add Fosu Mensah, Daniel Malin for all different circumstances into this. So yeah, man, you could say the tacticalness, the succession planning, the turbulent management, poaching of players. There's so many reasons, man. It's a loser's battle asking these sorts of players when these big clubs are coming after you not to go to them ultimately. You can forgive them for it. And I'd also say they're not able to convince players with dual nationality that Holland's the place to be. I remember Van Basten, he laughed at 2 players that of Moroccan heritage, and they went and played for Morocco. Are Morocco in the next World Cup? I'm sure they're in 2018. Forgive me if I'm wrong again, but I'm sure there's a lot wrong. I hope Holland get it right, man. They should use this like how the Spanish have at one point, how the Germans have, even England to a degree, man. They use some sort of failure as a springboard to go and fix up, to pattern up, to come back again, because Holland have great young players. I don't know what's up with it. When I look at the national team, I'm like, this is poor. No disrespect to Van Persie. If he's doing his thing, he deserves it. But 33 years of age, he's still getting called up. This shows everything wrong. Where's the succession planning? The best advice I would say, pick a crop of players. Just all they can do now is pick a crop of young players, focus on Euro qualification, and probably get some friendlies in with teams that are in the World Cup, let them gel and move from there. To be honest, that is literally all you can do, man. Complacency as well, in my opinion. We've always known Dutch, and I've said it. I've rolled off their names. Dutch, they play excellent football, total football, technically amazing ballers, and we know how the Dutch are pioneering for many reasons. I'd say you could say complacency, just relying on that, which goes back to my previous point about saying tacticalness. It needs to improve on a general basis in Holland as well, not just at the international level. Their tactics, of course, they're deploying tactics, but do I feel their games are as tactically... Do I see sides cancel out each other as much as I do in Germany and etc.? No, I don't. Of course, I'm not a mad watcher of the Eredivisie, so I'm going to get onto it a bit. But yeah, man, I do watch it a decent amount. But you get where I'm going. I want to see Dutch football return, you know, because as a footballing purist, they're pioneering. The Cruyff term for me is the best skill in the world. Like, it's so simple but cool, man. I really wish I could compute to you guys how much I rate Dutch football and how much, along with Wenger and a couple others, they've helped to craft my what's the word? Philosophies. You could also look back and say, to a degree, the competitive... We know the money and the Dutch league isn't the place to go, but if we look at the 90s, I'm sure Ajax were up there in the champs and things. I think 1995, year I was born. So yeah, they were up there. Obviously, they weren't winning things, but you can see competitiveness. I swear Louis van Gaal was doing things these times, but the competitiveness has fallen off. We all know that's due to globalization, the riches in the game, etc., etc. Of course, there's more points to add, but I don't really think there's anything more to be said. I'm sure you guys have got more points to add, and I'd be keen to know. So with that being said, comment, subscribe. Don't get away without subscribing if you don't subscribe, man. Or you go and watch, or don't, in fact, you can if you want. Go and watch them folks you don't learn anything from, or you can watch The King. DG, I'm out. Thank you for watching, people. I love you guys. Bang.